Right, welcome to the Othello walkthrough, Act 5, Scene 2, and I'm just picking up from the first speech that has been done by my colleague Diane. Thank you very much for that. And taking you on, and this is the, if you like, the rest of part 1. So, she's awake, and now we have effectively two characters on stage in terms of the action. And Desdemona, just as if she's kind of waking from slumber, she says, "Who's there, Othello?" "I, Desdemona." "Will you come to bed, my lord?" says Desdemona. "Have you prayed tonight, Desdemona?" "Ay, my lord." "If you bethink yourself of any crime unreconciled as yet to heaven and grace, if there's any crime that you haven't yet made your peace with God about, Desdemona, solicit for it straight, pray for it right now." "Alack, my lord, what may you mean by that?" There's a slightly worried question there, of course. You'll notice that most of these are questions from her. "Well, do it and be brief. I will walk by. I'll just walk up and down." "I would not kill thy unprepared spirit." In other words, if you take this idea of the kind of dual self that they would have done in Jacobean times, which is this idea of the soul and the body, and that when you die, effectively the soul should go to God, yes? And this idea also that the soul is part of you, which is something we talk about even now. She doesn't want, and it's the same effectively as the spirit as well. So it's the spiritual part of yourself, the higher part of yourself. "I would not kill thy unprepared spirit," the bit that should go to God or should go to hell. No, heaven forfend, heaven forbid, "I would not kill thy soul." Talk you of killing? Aye, I do. Then heaven have mercy on me. Amen, with all my heart. In other words, yes, I'd hope that heaven does have mercy on you, because no one else is going to. If you say so, I hope you will not kill me. And then, "Yet I fear you, for you're so fatal then, when your eyes roll so." This is a difficult bit, really, to read in the modern age. It does sort of seem to fulfill a kind of stereotype, if you like, a bit of a sort of primitive side to Othello, which wouldn't really go with the kind of, would clash, if you like, with the Venetian world that Desdemona comes from. And I guess whether or not, Shakespeare was doing that deliberately or what, we don't know, or whether this is just something we should effectively just look over, really. And I think you might find in modern productions it would actually get cut. "Why I should fear, I know not, yet since guiltiness I know not, but yet I feel I fear." So she knows she feels fear. She doesn't know why she feels fear. And she knows that she's not guilty, and this is apparently this is called epiphora, by the way, where you end a clause with the same phrase. And I haven't anything more to say about that. Perhaps you could think about why Shakespeare's done it just there. "Think on thy sins." Now, this is an interesting line here. Desdemona says, "They are loves I bear to you," which is just basically the idea that really your love, your primary love, should be for God if you are a religious person. Therefore, if you replace that with a love for a human being, there's a kind of sinful quality to that. And Othello, of course, picks up on that. He doesn't mean the love that she's bearing for him. He's talking about the love that he thinks she's bearing for Cassio. Desdemona doesn't obviously understand what he's on about there. That death's unnatural, that kills for loving. If you kill somebody for loving, then that's not a natural death. Alas, and this is again this sort of, as in slightly sort of stereotypical, slightly. I don't know. I don't particularly like it. It's the same sort of thing. It returns to Othello, if you like, to the creature of passion that we know that he has a tendency to be. So I suppose in that sense it kind of fits. "Why gnaw you so your nether lip?" I suppose it also gives you the idea of somebody who is absolutely eaten up with emotion. Which again kind of fits with the character. "Some bloody passion shakes your very frame." These are portents. These are These are pointing to something that's going to happen. But yet I hope something's going to happen that's bad, of course, but yet I hope they do not point on me, she says. Peace and be still, says Othello. I will so. What's the matter? Why? What is disturbing you? What's the thing that's disturbing you? And guess what? We're back to the handkerchief. That handkerchief, which of course, as far as Othello's concerned, as far as we're concerned, we've talked about it before being a dramatic device and so forth. It's also here now. It is essentially, it stands for Desdemona's infidelity. As far as Othello is concerned, it is the ocular proof, as it's put earlier in the play. And here it comes back again. So it's almost that the handkerchief is worse. The addition of the handkerchief, because it's a tender love token, etc. The fact that it's gone to Cassio, there's almost kind of too much for Othello to cope with. That handkerchief which I so loved and gave thee, thou gavest to Cassio. No, by my life and soul, says Desdemona. Send for the man and ask him. Sweet soul, take heed. So he's then talking about her in the sense of, as we've already talked about herself, that, the full, her person, the person that here would be going to hell, if not to heaven. Take heed of perjury, that's lying. Thou art on thy deathbed, and this is the last chance. You won't be able to get yourself out of it. And of course, if this is a Catholic religion, that whole idea of the kind of your last rites, all that sort of thing, would be quite significant to the audience at the time. Of course, I'm talking about the representation of the religion in the play. In the time that we're in, early Jacobean period, it would have been a Protestant kingdom, I think. Yes, that is of course the case, because of course you've got the gunpowder plot that takes place during James's reign, and it's not that long after Othello was put on the stage, I'm pretty sure. Thou art on thy deathbed, aye, but not yet to die, says Desdemona. Yes, presently, which in this early period means now. Therefore, confess thee freely of thy sin. So confess your sin openly. For to deny each article, and I think when Diane was talking about it earlier on, she talked about the cause. It is the cause, my soul. In a sense, he sees it as a justice. This is justice. Right back earlier in the play, he says, when Iago says you should strangle her in her bed, he says, good, the justice of it pleases. And whether that's just to make him feel better, this idea that, he's doing something that's grubby and dirty, and so what, to turn it into kind of a legal thing, a sort of kind of like a heavenly justice to kill this adulteress. Kind of makes it feel better, or what, or how it would have been responded to, again, is something for you to think about and debate. But for to deny each article, each aspect of the crime with oath, i.e. to promise, cannot remove nor choke the strong conception that I do groan withal. So he is full of this conception, this deep kind of belief, and that belief kind of is deep inside him and kind of eats him up. It groans within him, I suppose, is one way you can, and you can't choke it off with this sort of thing. Thou art to die, then Lord have mercy on me. I say amen, so repeat it again. I do hope that God has mercy on you. And and she says, well, you have mercy as well. Let's forget God. Let's get into the real world here. I'd like you to have mercy on me. I never did offend you in your life. In other words, I never cheated on you. I never loved Cassio, but with such general warranty of heaven as I might love. In other words, just sort of, something that's allowed by all the kind of laws of chastity and purity and so on, and being a good and virtuous woman, you're allowed to kind of be just charming and kind to somebody. That's the sort of love that she gave to Cassio. That was it. I never gave him token. I never gave him a kind of never led him on to the idea that I actually was interested in him, sexually or whatever. By heaven, I saw my handkerchief in his hand. And we're back to the handkerchief again. And of course, we've already talked about what the handkerchief represents. Oh, perjured woman. So you're a woman who is now, once again, you have told a lie. And this kind of perjury, which again is the kind of thing if you lie in court, it is a crime of perjury. Thou dost stone my heart. Interesting, to stone your heart is actually something with that you would do. It's a kind of crime. Sorry, it's a punishment of a kind. In very sort of primitive societies, it would be a kind of punishment, and makes me call what I intend to do a murder, which I thought a sacrifice. So he said that this is in a sense a sacrifice. So it's now kind of religious language again. That in a sense she's being sacrificed, I suppose, at the altar of virtue, that sort of thing, of a woman's virtue, I suppose, a bit like that. I saw the handkerchief. He found it then. I never gave it him. Send for him hither. Let him confess a truth. He hath confessed. What, my lord? That he hath used thee. Used, which means had sex with. How? Unlawfully? Aye. He will not say so, because he absolutely cannot believe that. And no, says Othello, his mouth is stopped. He won't be able to say anything, because he's dead. Honest Iago has ta'en order for it, i.e. has arranged for it to happen. Oh, my fear, interprets, says Desdemona. I can see actually my fear, kind of, that I I fear, etc. is now, it's all coming true. What, is he dead? Had all his hairs been lies, my great revenge had stomach for them all, says Othello. Too right, he's dead, and he should be dead, because that's, I want revenge on him, just like I want justice on you. Alas, he is betrayed, and I am done, she says, and of course this really drives him mad, because effectively what she's doing is crying out for Cassio. She doesn't mean it in any other way than, someone is going unjustly to their death. But it kind of is like lighting a firework. Oh, out, strumpet, so that's prostitute. Weepst thou for him to my face? Banish me, my lord, but kill me not. Down, strumpet. At this point, presumably, without actual stage directions, or very few stage directions, we have some coming up. He's thrown her down onto the bed at this point. This is it. He's closing in on her. Kill me tomorrow. Let me live tonight, she says. Nay, if you strive, it's going to be worse for you if you kind of move around. But half an hour, says Desdemona, being done, there is no pause. I've started, so I must continue. But while I say one prayer, says Desdemona, it is too late. Yes, it's kind of again, it is coming back to it is the cause, my soul type of register and attitude that Othello has earlier on. This is the guy who's bringing a kind of justice. Oh, Lord, Lord, Lord. And then he does it. He smothers her. My lord, my lord. What ho, my lord, my lord. And this is where we're going to finish it and pick it up in the next video. This is the point where Emilia is speaking. He's not speaking. She's either not speaking directly outside, or he's in such a high state of kind of passion that he can't really clock on to who she is, even though he did send her out earlier on. So there's lots of ways to read this, but I'll pick all that up in the next video. Okay, so that takes us to the end of Act 5, Scene 2, Part 1, and I'll see you in Part 2. Thanks a lot.